All right, let's dive deep into caffeine and how it affects our hearts. We've got 3 recent studies we're going to break down today, and they're all from medical news today. Millions of us count on that cup of coffee or 2 or 3 to get going every day, but is it good for our hearts or not?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? And then the research is kind of all over the place, but that's what we're here to figure out.
Exactly. So this first study, it was published in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. And it actually has some pretty good news for moderate caffeine drinkers.
Right. So moderate here means like 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine daily. So for most folks, that's like 2 to 3 cups of coffee.
Okay, got it.
And they found that people who had that much caffeine each day were less likely to develop type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and even stroke.
Wow. So is caffeine some sort of magic heart elixir?
Well, not exactly, but it does seem to help our bodies out in a couple of key ways. First, it could improve how our body uses insulin.
Okay, so for those of us who don't know, what does insulin do exactly?
Oh, good point. So insulin is like a key that unlocks our cells to let sugar in for energy.
Got it.
But if your body doesn't use insulin well, that's called insulin resistance. And that sugar can build up in your blood,
Oh, I see.
and that can lead to problems like type 2 diabetes.
Okay.
Caffeine seems to help our bodies use insulin better, which keeps that blood sugar in check.
So basically, caffeine could be helping to prevent those blood sugar spikes that can be bad for our hearts in the long run.
Exactly.
Interesting. So that's one way caffeine could be helping our hearts. What's the other?
Well, there's also some evidence that caffeine can boost your metabolism a bit, which means your body burns fat more efficiently.
Wow. Okay.
And this is good news for your heart because extra body fat, especially around your belly, can put extra stress on your cardiovascular system.
Got it. So it's like moderate coffee consumption is giving our hearts the little workout from the inside out. I like that. But before we all go celebrate with a fourth cup of coffee, I have a feeling there's a catch.
Yeah, you're right to be cautious. Moderation is definitely key here. This next study really highlights that more caffeine isn't necessarily better.
Okay, this is the study that was presented at ACC Asia 2024, right?
That's the one.
Okay, so what did they find?
Well, they found that people who regularly had high amounts of caffeine, at least 400 milligrams daily for 5 or more days a week, actually might be increasing their risk of heart disease.
Whoa.
And here's the thing. This was true even for people who are otherwise healthy.
So even if you're in good shape, too much caffeine could still be a problem.
Exactly.
Okay, so I got to ask, how much caffeine are we talking about here?
Yeah, so we're talking like 4 cups of coffee, 2 energy drinks, or even 10 cans of soda daily.
Wow, that's a lot of caffeine. So what exactly is happening in the body that makes this much caffeine a problem for the heart?
Basically, having too much caffeine can lead to a constant increase in both your heart rate and blood pressure. And while a little spike here and there isn't a big deal, if you're constantly pushing your system like that, it can lead to problems down the line.
Got it. It's like your heart is an engine.
Yeah.
A little revving is fine,
Yeah,
but if you're flooring it all the time, you're going to burn it out.
exactly.
Okay, so it seems like there's a sweet spot when it comes to caffeine,
Yeah.
enough to get those potential benefits without overdoing it.
Hmm.
But now I'm curious about what this all means for stroke risk.
All right, well, this last study we're looking at today is all about that. It was published in the Journal of Stroke, and it looked at both coffee and tea.
Okay.
And it turns out that coffee can be a bit of a double-edged sword when it comes to stroke risk.
Okay, how so?
Well, they found that drinking more than 4 cups of coffee every day was linked to a 37% higher risk of stroke.
Wow.
But having less than 4 cups a day wasn't linked to any increased risk.
Okay, so again, moderation seems to be key. But what about tea? Did it have the same effect as coffee?
Actually, no. This study found that drinking 3 to 4 cups of black tea every day was actually linked to a 29% lower risk of stroke.
Wow, really? So coffee might increase stroke risk if you have too much, but tea could actually protect against it. That's so interesting.
It is.
I'm guessing this all comes back to caffeine's effect on blood pressure.
You got it.
Uh,
Caffeine can temporarily raise blood pressure, and high blood pressure is a major risk factor for stroke.
right.
But here's where it gets even more interesting. The study found that the effects of tea actually seem to vary depending on where people lived.
Wait, what? So where you live in the world could affect how tea impacts your stroke risk.
That's what it seems like.
That's wild. So it's not just about what you drink, but also where you are in the world.
Yeah, the study didn't go into why that might be, but it definitely shows that there's still a lot we don't know about how different drinks and even our location can impact our risk of stroke.
That is fascinating. I'm starting to think that caffeine is way more complex than I ever realized.
Me too. It definitely keeps things interesting. So that's a wrap on the first part of our caffeine deep dive. We've explored 3 studies that show us both the potential benefits and risks of this popular stimulant. But what does this all mean for you and your daily coffee habit? Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll break it all down and help you make sense of it.
Caffeine, huh? It's kind of a tricky one,
It
right?
really is. 1 minute, it seems like it's good for you. The next minute, not so much. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, for sure. But I think the main takeaway here is awareness. We're not saying everyone needs to ditch caffeine completely.
Right, of course not.
It's about understanding both sides, the good and the bad, and then figuring out what works best for you as an individual.
So it's all about finding that balance.
Exactly.
But where do we even begin? There's so much information out there about caffeine. How do we know what to trust?
Well, first and foremost, talk to your doctor.
Oh, yeah, good point. They can look at your specific situation, your health history, any medications you're taking, things like that, and they can help you figure out a safe and healthy caffeine intake for you.
That makes sense. Everyone's different.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another.
It's so true. And it's also super important to pay attention to how your body reacts to caffeine.
Oh, yeah, like if you start feeling jittery
Yeah.
or your heart races after a cup of coffee.
Exactly. Or if you have trouble sleeping, if you have caffeine too late in the day, those are all signs that maybe you're having a little too much.
It's like our body's way of telling us to slow down.
Exactly.
Okay, so listen to your doctor, listen to your body. Got it.
Hey.
But what about all the hidden sources of caffeine? It's not just in coffee and tea, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Caffeine is sneaky. You can find it in chocolate, energy drinks, even some medications and supplements.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so it's really important to read labels carefully and just be aware of how much caffeine you're getting from all those different sources.
So we need to become caffeine detectives.
Ah, I like that.
All right, so to recap, talk to your doctor, listen to your body, and be a caffeine detective.
You got it. And remember, knowledge is power. The more you know about how caffeine affects you, the better choices you can make for your health.
So true. Well, I think this brings us to the heart of the matter. Literally. Do the benefits of moderate coffee consumption outweigh the risks for you? That's the big question.
It is. We've gone through the research. We've talked about the pros and cons. Now it's time to take that information and apply it to your own life.
Right. Think about your own caffeine habits, your health goals, and make a decision that feels right for you.
Exactly.
It's all about finding that sweet spot.
That's a great way to put it. Enjoying your favorite caffeinated drinks while also keeping your heart health in mind.
And this is an ongoing journey, right?
Absolutely.
As new research comes out, we learn more and more about caffeine and how it affects us.
For sure. And we'll be here to keep you updated on all the latest findings.
All right, so to wrap up this part of our caffeine deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this. Don't be afraid to experiment. Maybe cut back on coffee, try some tea, or just pay closer attention to how caffeine makes you feel.
Yeah, great advice.
It's all about finding that balance between enjoying the things you love and taking care of yourself.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We'll be back soon with more deep dives into fascinating health topics. But in the meantime, stay curious, stay informed, and stay healthy.
So we've given you all this info about caffeine and its effects on the heart.
Yeah, like a roadmap to help you navigate your own caffeine choices.
Exactly. So now it's up to you to choose the best path for your own heart health.
Right. And as with any journey, it's good to be prepared, pack your knowledge, listen to your body, and don't be afraid to ask for help along the way.
I love that. It's a great reminder that this isn't the end of the caffeine conversation. As we learn more about how caffeine and our bodies work together, we'll keep sharing that info with you.
Absolutely. The world of science is always moving forward, and we're here to keep you updated on all the newest discoveries.
So stay tuned for more deep dives into all sorts of interesting health topics. And in the meantime, keep that curiosity going, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep making choices that are good for your heart. And hey, choices that let you enjoy that perfect cup of coffee or tea too.
Well said. Cheers to a healthier and happier you.
Cheers to that. We've come to the end of our caffeine journey today. But remember, this is really just the beginning of your own exploration. Take what you've learned today and use it to create a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah, one step at a time.
One sip at a time.
And remember, we're always here to support you. So until next time, happy caffeinating, everyone.
Stay curious, stay informed, and stay healthy. We'll see you on the next deep dive.